Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome. I am delighted to be hosting this webinar and very proud that the iiaa is a patron of the British Beauty Council and that we are able to support on this fantastic campaign. And together with Professional Beauty, we are going to help to empower all of you because you are really the very heart and soul of the industry to elevate the voice of beauty within government and beyond. And for those of you I don't know, I'm Tracey Alpert, and together with my husband David, we started the iiaa just over 32 years ago. We essentially grew up in this industry. We were very green, naive, 20-something-year-olds, thought we knew absolutely everything, but so grateful that we landed in such a fantastic industry. It's so inspiring, often challenging, but really rewarding. And I wouldn't want to have it any other way. And, you know, before Millie Kendall, who I will introduce in a minute, together with the rest of our fantastic panel, started the British Beauty Council, our industry really flew completely under the radar. We never had a collective voice like the fashion industry did because of the Fashion Council. But of course, you know, all that has changed, and we owe a great deal to the British Beauty Council for shining a spotlight on our diverse, creative, and economically vital industry. And they have shown just how much we contribute to the UK's economy, to the workforce, and just to society in general by supporting people's mental health, boosting their confidence, and bringing them joy. So the British Beauty Council supports our industry in a myriad of ways, but particularly through advocacy within government and policymakers. And that's why we're here today to discuss their latest initiative. And I have a fantastic panel of three amazing, brilliant women, very successful, very smart, and they are going to tell us more and explain how you can all get involved. So we have Millie Kendall, OBE, who is the CEO and founder of the British Beauty Council. And Millie has well over 30 years of experience across retail, brand, marketing, PR. And I found this little quote that she did in January to the Times newspaper.
What is it?
To the Times newspaper, and she said that the best decision of her career was setting up the British Beauty Council. It's the most fulfilling job I've ever had because it incorporates two things I love: politics and beauty. And that's quite a telling statement because Millie has had a very illustrious, expansive career. And then we've got Eve Oxberry and Clare Porter. Can give a wave. And they are both coming to us from Professional Beauty North. So thank you both for giving up time in your very, very busy day. And Eve is head of editorial at Professional Beauty and Aesthetics magazine. She's been a business journalist for over 20 years and has specialized in the beauty, spa, and aesthetics sector for most of the time. And I think we've probably worked with her most of that time as well. And then we have Clare, who is a passionate salon owner, skincare professional with over 30 years of experience in the professional beauty sector. And Clare is a seasoned campaigner and public speaker and championing our industry. And she's also part of our iiaa community and owner of the Fountain Beauty Therapy Clinic. So let's start with Millie. Millie, can you tell us a little bit about this latest initiative to invite MPs into salons, what's happening with British Beauty Week, and how can our salon and clinic community get involved?
Yeah, I wanted to just start by saying when we first set up the British Beauty Council, I actually came to see you and David, and
Yes, I remember.
really, really early on, way before we'd even started it. And I remember you guys saying, we'd wanted to do something like this. And so I often think it's not a sole person's idea. Oftentimes the best ideas are when a lot of people collectively have the same idea, and it's how you bring that to market in a way. So, you know, thank you for supporting us, and thank you for being there on that journey with us from the very, very early days when we came to visit you. because I think it's super, super, super important that this is a community and it's a collective, and it requires a lot of voices. Every year we have an event called British Beauty Week. This year it runs from the 20th of October to the 26th of October. And we try to straddle around the half-term holidays because we think that there's a lot of young people around that we can kind of engage. So we tend to do it every year just before half-term and in the lead up to Christmas, so that it kind of, we're fresh in people's minds when it comes to sort of the Christmas period, both shopping and obviously treating themselves to services. And this year we decided to do a piece of work because we've just launched the new value of beauty. So we decided to create an initiative where you, the business owner, ask your local MPs to come and visit your businesses. The latest value of beauty shows that there is £32.4 billion worth of consumer spending across the beauty industry every year, with a £30.4 billion contribution to the exchequer. So we are very, very important. We've got a budget
Can I
coming up.
jump in there?
Oh,
Who's
sorry, did someone?
someone is
Sorry, can I jump? Yeah,
ask? Can we
can
ask?
I jump in?
Can we put questions
Hi,
in?
Kelly
chat for
Hicks,
now?
Body Image Beauty Salons.
Is it possible to just run some questions after?
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Yeah,
Kelly?
can we? Thanks very much for questions.
Yeah,
but
it was more just the fact that I know we're saying it is. It is. I was just jumping in that we say that the industry is that, but that's using toothpaste and shampoos and things like that into the analogy. It's not necessarily just salons.
No, it's not
that's
just salons.
correct.
So yeah,
No,
we can ask the questions,
there's
but
a
can we come
definition.
back to that at the end? Is that
Yeah,
possible?
there's a definition of beauty which is on the British Beauty Council website. The valuation makes up all of that. There are different valuations for different parts of the industry, and you can see when you read the report which bits grow and which bits are challenged. So the idea is to so basically there's £32.4 billion worth of consumer spending, £30.4 billion worth of contribution to the exchequer. There are 697,000 people working in the industry, and particularly in the salon industry, we've probably got about 50,000 salons around there, maybe a few less. And we decided to start an activation that would help you to engage with your MPs by inviting them into your business so they can see exactly what you do. There are more hair, beauty, and barber and nail businesses on the high street in the UK than any other business. And it's very, very important that local MPs see how prolific you are, particularly to the community, to the local community, because I think it is really important to share with them your cultural and social relevance, because I think that's absolutely fundamental. And it allows us to talk to them in an environment that we're comfortable in, where we can say what works, what's not working for us, what we need from them. Those MPs work for us. We vote them in and they work for us. They represent us in Parliament. It is an opportunity for us to say what's good and what's not. And I think and a lot of them will have been asked by us and also by central government to try to come and visit their salons. So we're asking you to write to your MP. We've got a toolkit of assets where you can just download the letter, send that off to your local MP. If you need help kind of badgering them a little bit, we're really happy to help you with that. And get them into your business and show them what's working for you and be really clear what you need them to do, because I think that I can't stress that enough. They are there to represent you. They work for you. This is your opportunity to have your voice heard. And one thing I have learned over the past 6 years doing this job is giving people a voice and allowing them to be heard is probably the biggest pleasure of the job that I do. It is so, so important that we as a community collectively reach out to our local MPs. I met mine at a cricket match and made a beeline for her because I saw her across the sort of the bleachers. I don't even know what you call them here. I grew up in LA, so we call them bleachers. And I just went gunning for her. just to sort of pin her down to have a conversation with her. You know, these people are representing us, and I think that's a really important, it's a really important opportunity. Also, you know, Labour are, you know, in government at the moment, and they're very concerned that sentiment in local communities is not 100% going their way. So I think that a lot of MPs will want to be engaging, or look to be seen to be engaging with their local salons.
And
It should
Millie,
be relatively easy, I think.
how can people access their toolkit?
So if you go to the British Beauty Council website, or maybe Nick can put a link in the chat. I don't know if that's possible. So you get a toolkit, there's a letter, and then there are social media assets. So you can, and we sent out a toolkit also to MPs, and then you can download it. It's got everything in it, all the hashtags and who to tag in posts. And, you know, no disrespect to politicians, but they love a photo opportunity with a local business owner. You know, you give them what they want, which is a photograph in your business. So it makes them feel and look like they're doing the right thing. And then you have an opportunity to pin them down and say, business rates are too high, national insurance contributions are too high, this is killing my business, I need you to stand up for me. And, you know, the reality of it is that some of them, I'm not sure exactly how many, but some of them will, when the opportunity arises, will stand up and ask questions during either PMQs or in a debate. And we've had quite a good run of politicians standing up for us the past 3 months, I think. We need to keep that momentum going.
Yeah, and Claire, you've actually had experience with that. So you invited Jeremy Hunt into your clinic.
So he is the local MP for where my salon is, and I also invited in my local MP from home as well, who was a new MP, a Lib Dem, whereas Jeremy Hunt's obviously Conservative. It was really good with both of them, because I felt that I was getting across some of the subjects that don't get to their desk, really. So I always think of the beauty industry as having two arms, in as much we have the service side and we have the retail side. And I appreciate what was being said earlier on, because sometimes those figures can seem a bit skewed. And obviously salons at the moment are struggling, but we're pivotal to the high street. We really are. And we're there in communities, working with often people that are isolated, such as older people. I'm very passionate about it, and it's about certainly championing the service side of the sector. There's a lot of issues that need to come in front of MPs, and he listened, and he was very constructive, and he came back with feedback and then asked what he could do going forwards. And he's stuck to that. He has then mentioned me in Parliament, saying that I'm concerned about the VAT thresholds, I'm concerned about minimum wage, the business rates, apprenticeships. I'm an ambassador for Habia for apprenticeships, and they are on decline. And the more and more we have the self-employed model coming into businesses nowadays, where it's so costly for salons to employ people, it means that a lot of that expertise and experience is going from that career pathway going forward.
Yeah. And so I
was just going to say, the way we break down the industry is we do, it's broken down into 3 areas: personal care and hygiene, personal enhancement, which is like makeup, perfume, hair care products that you buy in the store, and then professional services. So there are 3 main kind of economic sort of we call it macroeconomics for the whole of the industry, but these are sort of little micro groups that are within it. So we do break it down into those 3 sections, and they're actually quite equal in terms of their turnover. So each one is around 10 billion each. So professional services, personal enhancement, personal care, and hygiene.
And Claire, how easy did you find it to get them to come into your clinic?
Well, I was quite tenacious. I sent quite a few emails. I did make sure I was quite personal, and I appreciate you've done a toolkit as well, but I wanted to be relevant to our area as well. And also I did mention that I've got a team of young staff that I think it's important that they meet their MPs and see why they should vote and have their say and have their voice as well. And I think that did help get their attention. I sent several emails and made sure I was available. I also sent a brief outline of what I wanted to discuss with them. So I sent figures and facts but I was quite concise as well. Like I didn't want to waste their time. So
Okay, great.
One of the things that we've been saying for quite a few months, it sort of lands very well with government, is the dwell time. You have got not just a business owner that might be extremely happy or very disgruntled, but you've also, if you've got a disgruntled business owner who's really struggling, they also have clients that are sitting in their businesses for an hour, roughly an hour each, and there is an opportunity for them to express how frustrated they are with the current government and the taxes and the costs to run a business with their clients. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no MP that wants that kind of message spreading out throughout what is a solid client base where there's a lot of dwell time. It's different when you go and get coffee. Don't have a conversation with the barista. You're in and out. You might sit down with a friend, but you're pretty much in and out. Our businesses have there's a lot of benefit to the high street. There's also should be quite a lot of concern from MPs, because you are literally in a very intimate space with someone for an hour. And I think I'm hoping that worries them a little bit and gets them in.
And it's an industry that is often female-led as well.
Yes.
And often, so just thinking who may be on the call now, we're a lot of small independents, and we need to all collectively come together and have that bigger voice. There are salons on every high street, aren't there? There's beauty therapists everywhere now. And we're doing sort of providing jobs and helping the community, the well-being, the wellness, everything. And we're having those conversations.
And we do need a collective voice. And Eve, I know Professional Beauty ran a campaign, Support Our Salons, after the last budget.
Yeah, that was late last year in reaction to the announcements made in the autumn budget, which I think were quite a shock for most people in the sector in terms of all sorts of costs, particularly national insurance. Obviously, we knew minimum wage was on the way. So yes, we launched that campaign after the autumn budget, and at the time also encouraged people to invite their MPs into their salons, which obviously Claire was involved in then. And we're totally behind this. I think it's so important because, as we've discussed, it's about showing, we work in this industry every day. We're talking to salon owners. We're here at Professional Beauty North. We're talking to salon owners, clinic owners firsthand all the time. But most people in government, most people in the wider world don't know the intricacies of our industry, and they don't understand that being a service provider in the beauty industry comes with a lot of challenges, and it's a very distinct type of kind of work and industry. So I think sort of getting them there and getting them face to face is so important to kind of get that across. And as Claire's mentioned, salons aren't just service providers. They employ local staff, use local suppliers, contribute to local tax revenues, as well as obviously the global economy and the UK economy. So it's really important to kind of get that local message across, definitely.
So are you going to continue to run that campaign? Because we've got another budget coming up.
Yes, definitely. We'll be keeping a close eye on announcements there, but it's an ongoing campaign. I think, I know there's various campaigns running out there and kind of joining together because we're all feeling the pressures. And I think just kind of getting that voice heard, I think it's so important to work together, as we've highlighted. And I think it's great to have the British Beauty Council's kind of weight and voice in government being able to do that. And the fact that we could all kind of join together to try to have a united voice on this, I think is really effective.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, and then any suggestions on how, for the people who are on the call, how to bring up those challenging issues of national insurance and business rates, and how that is affecting the day-to-day running of the salons and their businesses?
I think that's the thing. If they come into the salon, they see firsthand what's going on and what the concerns are. For me, VAT, it's not a level playing field at all, because a lot of people are hovering below the threshold, which then isn't fair. I mean, for my personal salon, it wouldn't work for me having people self-employed in, because I want them to be using the brands that we follow. I want them to be, using our treatment menu and everything like that. So it doesn't translate for me. But there's so many places that are offering that self-employed sort of rent a chair sort of scenario, and it just it isn't a level playing field. Then if somebody's charging the 20% VAT and somebody is hovering below needing to charge that, there's a disparity there.
Yeah,
and a majority of the businesses in our sector are under that VAT threshold or hovering below.
yeah.
And you know, there's a lot of new data on that we're getting from some of the apps, the booking apps.
But yeah, the fact that there's that incentive to stay below that threshold is really difficult, because I think people, you know, the government wants to see growth, and to be bringing in more money, but people are deliberately staying below that threshold because it's so tough.
And I pitched to a lot of salons that they say, or not necessarily salons, but a lot of independents that sort of say, oh, you know, I don't know what to do. I'm going to cut down to 3 days a week. It's like, no, just register for that. You'll fly. Just go with it. If it's nothing's more stifling for your growth, if you know, than sort of trying to hover below something, and it's not.
That's what's holding you back. Yeah.
There was a figure, I can't remember, I haven't got it to hand, about how few businesses in the beauty service side are actually VAT registered.
There's only 20% of VAT registered, under 20%.
Which is just incredible.
Yeah, just under 20%.
And some of the dialogue that's coming out of Parliament at the moment from the perspective of the budget is either that threshold's going to rise, which I think is really crippling for somebody like me, or it's going to fall, you know, I personally think drop it a lot lower, or perhaps even to zero, and drop the percentage of VAT. But
I mean, they're having a lot of consultations at the moment as to which way they're going. So they're either going to lower it or they're going to increase the rate to cover the budget the deficit. I mean, it's, you know, it's a really challenging. I mean, the fact is that, you know, we are I think we've gone from having no voice to having a really solid voice of government, but the fact is we're still quite a small industry. And so when we're fighting a battle like tax, we tend to work across the aisles with not just business or organizations in the hairdressing or beauty industry, the trade bodies, but also most importantly with some of the other trade organizations like the British Retail Consortium and the British Fashion Council. We need to work with some of the bigger organizations as well, because we have to have a very joined up message when we're talking to government.
Agreed. And on this call now, there'll be loads of people that are independent, and if we can all start having that voice and speaking to our MPs, and then there's so much passion in this industry. It's one of the things I love about it. I know Eve loves working in it because there's so many fabulous, passionate people, and we've just got to, you know, embrace some of that and speak to our MPs and show them that, you know, we're not going quietly. We're really.
But I think
proud of it.
I think also we need to ask them what we think we can get, what they think we can get, because I think there's no point asking for something that is never going to happen. Like the thing is with the national insurance contributions, you know, I own a business as well as running the British Beauty Council. That was a big, I mean, a huge burden.
And that's a problem across all businesses, not just in the beauty.
And I think everyone felt that, and it was very unexpected, and it was, you know, in tandem with lots of other, you know, the lowering of the threshold, the rise of the contribution, the minimum wage, all of it came at once, and it was like this perfect storm of how much more can a business owner take. However, those MPs are in the halls of Westminster, and we need to ask them, what do they think will help us? What do they think will help us, and what do they think we can ask for? Because I think also there is on the ground. They know where we can find a window of opportunity. And I think sometimes it's about looking for that slice of opportunity where we can get a really good win that can help us. So if it is, you know, if our, I don't know, national insurance contributions have gone up and we're paying VAT, but we pay no business rates, is that going to help us? You know, what can we do that's going to help our business? That's not something that this Chancellor has brought in, because I just feel like my gut feels like a U-turn is not going to happen. So what else is there that we can ask for?
Yeah, exactly. I think we're on the same page with that as well. With our campaign, we're like, it's not a campaign to get them to change their minds, because they're not going to change their minds.
No.
It's like, where can more support then come? I think like apprenticeships, regulation, which obviously is another being discussed, and you know, things like sustainable energy initiatives, things like that can support from different perspectives in an
I mean, there is something that we kind of proposed a while ago, which was, I mean, very loosely, because we have these conversations with civil servants and you kind of banter it back and forth about, like, sort of maybe a good employer's incentive, where if you maintain a certain level of staff, or you keep staff for 2 years or more, you get maybe some kickback on your national insurance contribution. Or if you upgrade your premises or invest in some sort of green energy mandate, then you get some kind of refund or some kind of rebate, so that you can get some some sort of support on energy costs. So there are other things. We need to be quite creative and have those conversations. And what I mean by asking them what they think we can get, it's about having that two-way conversation so they feel like they're part of the solution as well.
And then, Millie, is it worth giving salon owners suggestions of what to ask for?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know about you, Claire, but I think business rates is probably would be the top of my list. You know, with small businesses, with small footprint, there are plenty of other businesses that are paying business rates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, I'm really hopeful they don't put up the VAT threshold. I think VAT fairness would be, that's looking at that model.
Yeah.
The other thing is support for the education sector, certainly apprenticeships, because a lot of employers aren't taking on apprentices anymore, and particularly hair. It's the best way that people learn, and beauty. I think it's the best pathway into the industry nowadays, because you learn on the job, and that's so important to have those skills, those social skills as well, and that interaction. So, apprenticeships.
They're moving, just to stay on apprenticeships, sorry, they're moving apprenticeships to the Department of Works and Pension, because it hasn't worked where it is in Department for Education. There's a problem with the way apprenticeships and colleges are lumped into the same kind of department with Department for Education. And so you've got two kind of competing routes to getting into the industry. And those different teams are kind of playing, sort of almost battling it out to see who gets the most bums on seats. And colleges have won because kids have been told to stay in school for longer. And so that's decimated the apprenticeship model. I think with apprenticeships moving to DWP, that will be a step in the right direction. And then we need to get the impetus behind that to kind of re-energize that, because we've gone from something like 13,000 a year to 3,000 a year.
And it's
devastating in 10 years.
And that's why I'm concerned about the self-employed model as well, because it's like people being there, guiding those apprenticeships through, that with their wealth of experience. Because if you're self-employed in a salon, you're not going to be staying on model night to help the apprentices and things like that, because you've done your column, you're off. And that's a shame. I think recognition generally overall, just raising awareness of the industry, it's still, not considered a good career to go into. I was actually speaking to a school the other day saying, I'll come in and talk about apprenticeships or talk about the beauty industry and how fabulous it is, because there's so many opportunities. I mean, I love every day, and I've been in it over 30 years. But
aspirational, making it aspirational.
Absolutely. And they even said to me, oh yeah, well, we've got the ones that can't really do the academic stuff. And it's like, no, it's not a soft option doing beauty. If you really want to be really good, you've got the science side, you've got so many opportunities, so many.
That's a whole nother webinar.
No, and absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's
But the MPs that come into the salon need to hear that. They need to see the passion. They need to sort of feel that. I can really go on and get emotional about it all.
I think you also need to say that 86% of our industry are female-owned businesses. It's really important that you say 86% female-owned businesses. 95% of our entire sector are SMEs. Yeah. And this government wants to develop a small business strategy, or they are developing a small business strategy, and you need to say to them, we want to be part of that strategy. It is incredibly important as small business owners, majority of whom are female, that we have a voice in what that strategy is. They've got the small business strategy, they've got a high street strategy. That is us. We are, I would say we're like the owners of the high street, we're so prolific on Britain's high streets. And I think that's really important to kind of put that forward to them. We need to be part of that conversation.
We've got quite a few questions that we have to get through.
Okay, I bet.
Claire and I are going to have a chat after.
I just want to quickly ask you something, Millie. What is your expectation of this campaign? I mean, what would you like it to achieve?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I want you to have a deeper, more robust relationship with your MP. I think that's really important. I mean, when I first moved back here from LA, I did that. I actually had a Liberal Democrat MP who was amazing, and I needed some help with my daughter and something to do with school. I wrote to her time and time again. She was amazing, wrote back to me. I then had a problem with my mum that needed medical care, and I couldn't get her into the hospital I wanted, and I wrote to her. And I've just built up this relationship with her, and I've always been quite bold like that. I want you to have your voices heard. So that's the first thing. Second thing is raising the reputation of our industry, making sure that MPs are posting about your businesses, that they are on their radar, that they are talking about them at the level of recognition that I feel they should have. So basically that's it. Yeah, get yourselves heard and form a relationship with your local MP, and make that a long-term continuing relationship. I mean, everyone loves a bit of social media, don't we all? But at the end of the day, it's about a long-term relationship with your MP, because that is how we grow our industry, by really leveraging that.
Brilliant. Okay, guys, we've got 15 minutes. I'm sure you've all got lots of questions. So if you could raise your hand on the screen, and we will.
I can see Kelly's actual hand.
Okay, and Amy, who's next to me, is going to unmute.
Am I unmuting
Kelly,
Hi.
there we go.
Hiya. I'm part of the British Hair Consortium. We've been battling this year. It's been going on for a while now. We've been up to London. We've protested outside of Parliament. We, as an industry for hair and beauty, we really are fighting to see if we can get the VAT threshold reduced. Totally agree with that. I think it needs to be a fair playing field across the board, but also to lower our VAT, not for products, that should remain 20%, but for our services, to actually ask the VAT to be cut to 10%. That across the board for hair and beauty industry, that is what we've been fighting for. I think, like you say, we all have to be on the same page. I think if you can be fighting for that as well, we just need to get our voices heard. Is that something you would be happy to
So
get
Kelly,
behind?
just in 2020, when we were during COVID, we created a campaign with quite a few hairdressers, Luke Hirschson, Nicola Clark, anyway, we did a huge campaign called Chop the VAT, where we fought to have the VAT reduced. And that was when they had reduced it for hospitality, and we felt it was very unfair. The hospitality had the reduction and we didn't. And very early in 2021, we had meetings with the Treasury, and they said that because of the majority of the businesses in our industry aren't VAT paying, if they gave a VAT cut to that 20%, that would not be fair for the rest of the businesses in our industry. I don't necessarily agree with that, because 20% of the businesses actually employ half the staff. So I don't necessarily agree with that decision. But
then if you lower the threshold to nothing, then it affects everybody. Then the level playing field is there.
Yeah, and we've put submissions in on that. So we constantly speak to the Treasury, and we're constantly talking to them about what we can do, whether it's a combination of a lowering of the threshold and a tapering of the VAT. But it's a mathematical equation that the 70 odd, or however many, 700 economists in the Treasury will have mapped out. So we've absolutely 100% asked them to look at what the various different options could be. They've been very open to it, and they've been very open to having conversations with us. However, there are, like I said, probably 700. I'm no economist, so I can't map those numbers, but there are hundreds of economists, and we've spoken to Prime Minister's financial advisor, and he said to me, "Can you do some economic modelling?" And I said, "Can you do it? You've got 700 economists. I don't. You do it, and you tell me what you found." So it's definitely in play. What they won't do is do just some straight VAT cut for the hairdressing and beauty industry. They're not going to do that. It's not a sort of you've basically, well, first of all, we're much smaller than hospitality. So if they were going to do it for us, they'd have to do it for hospitality. possibly retail or other creative industries. Certainly there are other service providers that they would have to do it for. So I think pretty much that's not going to happen as a straight option. But they do know that we as an industry have been championing for some kind of tweak on how taxes work. And we put some proposals in. We showed them how it works in Japan. We've shown them how it works in Finland, because those are two countries who have actually adapted the VAT model. And we continue to do so. But the straight answer was in 2020 or 2021 was they gave us an extra £500 million to reopen after COVID instead of just giving us a VAT cut. That was a sort of quid pro quo. But yeah, we speak to them all the time. And it's finding what works for our businesses, but also what they can possibly roll out over the rest of the economy. Because I think for anyone to come in and look at our businesses is just unrealistic. We can't, I mean, however much I'd want us to have a voice, and I really do, we are up against some massive industries. And so we have to be really practical about what it is we can get. And I don't think there's any merit in not being flexible. I think we have to be flexible and have a look at what options are available.
Hi, can I just jump in there? Hi, sorry, it's Sarah from Aesthetics. I did want to put my hand up, but I couldn't get the icon to do it for me. I just wanted to go back to what you were saying about what we can ideally ask for. But I want to know, is it being made really clear at government that by lowering or abolishing the VAT threshold, it's not the VAT percentage? I mean, that's a separate issue that we would like taken into account for service industries,
Sure.
but one battle at a time. But lowering the actual VAT threshold would at least put us on a level playing field, because at the moment, let's be honest, it's not that there's lots of micro businesses, it's people are choosing to stay below that. And that is what is creating such an unfair threshold playing field for everybody. We can't compete about people who are deliberately staying below, not charging VAT, taking cash
Yeah, I mean, I don't,
and
the Treasury aren't going to disclose to me what they're going to do in November, but we have
No,
had
no,
conversations
but
about the lowering of the
is
threshold.
it
They
made
have asked about that.
Is it made
They have
really
asked
clear
about
at government that they are going to win massively by lowering the VAT threshold? Because that is money that is just not being declared, though no VAT is being paid in any of those micro businesses, and is not going to be, while at the moment there's a massive loophole.
Yeah, I can disclose it. It's definitely a conversation we had about the lowering of the VAT threshold.
And that our threshold is one of the highest in Europe. And also, while we're on that
and
subject,
actually the Japanese model, I think it's even really low. It's like sort of 50.
I mean, does there have to be a threshold?
15.
Like, VAT, you buy one banana, you buy a bunch. What's the difference?
Yeah, but I think it's sort of the way we sort of talked about it was like, the income tax threshold. So you get sort of like, 11 grand, 12 grand, or whatever it is, tax free, and then it's sort of above that. And I think that the models that we found that look like they work really well for businesses in our sector, or businesses like ours, not just in our sector. There's a Finnish model and a Japanese model, and those two models work really well, but they do have a much lower threshold.
But the government can only gain from this.
Yeah.
They're looking to raise. You're saying, well, what can we ideally ask? Let's not ask too much. But this is an area where they are only going to gain from, and at the government level, is that being made really clear by?
Yeah, I think it is actually. We had a whole meeting with the Treasury on exactly that topic, and they are actually asked us to come and submit evidence on that. So I think
it's not that it's like we have all these micro businesses, it's that there's a loophole in the tax system that's creating all these micro businesses. And also when they're saying that we're a growing industry, that we are not a retail grown industry, yes, but a service grown industry, no. And they are very different things.
Well, the services sector is also growing. There are job cuts, but actually economically it's still growing. But there look to be about 14,000 job cuts in the services sector this year, which is something that we've been talking to them about, because it's a lot of jobs that we're going to lose. But there is still growth across the sector. The biggest loss, and we have had, and that's been for probably since about 2013, hairdressing salons have been closing. So that's been a real problem. The
I think
hairdressing
actually
sector has
by
been a
the end
real
of this
problem.
year, that will even be even more significant.
More so, yeah,
Literally,
absolutely, I agree. Yeah,
You,
yeah.
you
Guys,
can
we've
see it
got
on the high street.
We've got
Yeah,
5 more
yeah.
minutes. Can I just ask?
But just to say quickly on that point, yeah, if you think that's really important, then that's something you have to have a conversation with your MP about. If you think that lowering the threshold is a really good option, that's your opportunity to say that.
Yeah.
For the salon owners who potentially are not going to invite their MP in, what else can they do to keep this campaign moving and going? Because it's got to be a collective voice, and maybe it's not only inviting your MP in, maybe there are other things.
Actually, one thing with my MP, she was saying when she was going for her position, this was my one from home, she said that some of her constituents were concerned for the beauty salon in their village, and they were also concerned about hairdressers and the state of the industry. So you can speak to your clients about it as well and ask them to speak to their MPs too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Just raising awareness.
That's a really good idea. Maybe
Really,
using that toolkit and giving it to clients that seem to be particularly impassioned about it and get them to write to their MPs. That's a really good idea.
My clients love it. In fact, when Jeremy Hunt did mention me and the salon in Parliament, it was my clients that told me. I didn't find out about it. They were saying, "You've just been mentioned in Parliament," and they're really sort of pleased that I have been having that conversation. And so are my team. To be honest, that's the other thing. My team feel that I'm being proactive. I'm not just going, oh. Things are hard, and I don't really like the recent budget. It's tough for businesses. I've actually spoken to my MP to try and do something about it.
Yeah.
And Claire, it's not an overwhelming experience inviting your MP in. I mean, I know a lot of us.
I think it was more overwhelming for them, to be honest.
I bet.
I think so too. They work for us. I mean, the way I see it, they work for us. At the end of the day, they don't run businesses. They work for the people. That's why they're elected. It's really important that you make sure that you shift that power dynamic, and they are there to represent you. It's you're the voice.
I think even if you don't want to invite them into your salon, or if they say they don't have the time, I think that it's still worth writing to them and sharing figures from your business. I think we can share figures from the industry as a whole, but sharing individual figures, stresses and challenges that you're facing in your business locally, I think is really important. So even if you don't manage to get them into your salon, I think contacting them and just giving them that information. And as we've discussed, it's facts and figures that they want. So the more numbers you can give them, the better.
Yeah, I think that's really important to make sure you're armed. Yeah.
Who's talking? So was there a question?
Sorry, it's Sarah from Aesthetics again. We had our MP in and it was successful. He said he really understood the situation when we were talking to him about VAT. But what I'm concerned about is that when our body is being represented at Parliament, is it being made clear about the VAT threshold, and is it being made clear about the difference between services and retail?
Yeah,
I completely agree.
Hold on, sorry, can I just answer that question?
Sure.
We work with MPs and civil servants. They're very, very clear on that. That we've been talking about that since 2018, 2019. I think it's very clear. I think to assume that they're not that clever and they don't read full reports, I think is very naive. We have to be very clear that they understand the difference between personal care and hygiene goods that are sold in retailers and the services sector. The services sector is incredibly important because we are a group of female business owners that own small businesses on the high street. Yeah. That is very important for local MPs, for local government. But they cannot have that decimated, and they know that. So I think it's very clear.
I think as well, raising awareness with MPs, they were all, well, and clients as well, when we have the conversation subsequently. So many people don't realise that we're not regulated, that, there's no one checking that their quality of people's qualifications and insurance levels and things like that. Having that dialogue is important as well, because it will raise the standards of the industry and make us be seen, we're recognised better, basically.
Definitely, and as a better career choice. I think that's the thing. I think we all know we're all so sick of the industry as a whole being knocked, and beauty therapists being seen as fluffy or being seen as, doing dangerous practices, when it's the vast majority of them are not doing that at all. Are really well trained, really well experienced, and it's just getting that noticed and getting that definition is going to be.
And I think you know, and again, I go back to the fact that we are a very powerful industry, and government know it. About a week or two before British Beauty Week, and this is we've picked October 24th, which is a Friday, because MPs are in their constituencies. But about a week or two before, it will go on the grid. So the government are putting it out on their grid, which is where it's kind of their newsletter to MPs. And also there are 100 new Labour MPs, 100 new MPs that need to be engaging with businesses. So we have got a lot of power, and we need to really flex our muscles on this. And you know, you can talk to them, and again, as you said, make sure that you've got your numbers ready. You know, this is what my turnover was in, you know, 2019. This is how I'm doing now. Make sure that they understand what's happened to your business, whether the national insurance contributions decimated it, whether your business rates is decimated, whatever is happening to your business, or that indeed you're doing very well, you know, because some businesses are, you know, make sure you've got all those numbers to hand.
Guys, we've sadly come to the end.
That was so quick.
I know. Love to do another one. I'd really like to thank our fantastic panel, Millie, Claire, and Eve. That was really informative, and I hope that this is just the very beginning of an important conversation. So we're starting now, but the whole point is to continue this and gain momentum. And the more people that do it, whether it's getting your MP in or writing to your MP or doing it through your clients or any other ideas that you have, the more we do it, the larger our voice is going to be. So hopefully we can make some really constructive change.
Thank you for hosting, Tracey.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Tracey, for hosting.
Guys, please, if you do
Thanks,
invite your MP in, please let us know. We loved hearing from you. We want to know what you're doing.
Yeah, we'd love to share it in professional beauty as well. So definitely be good to.
Yeah, and I'm happy to speak to anyone. You can find me.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.